1 2 check. Shalom and welcome to this evening's Torah class. We're delighted that you're joining with us. Tonight we're going to study the Torah Parashat Vayera. That's Genesis 18, verse 1 through chapter 22, verse 24. Join us as we study Yahweh's Word. And prepare your hearts and mind to receive His truth. We will begin our broadcast shortly, so please stay with us.
Well, greetings from Austin, Texas. We're having another Tuesday night Torah class. This week's Torah section, the parsha that we are studying, is called Vayera, and it just happens to be one of my favorite parshas. I have taught on this section of Scripture so many times I've lost count. It's a beautiful section of Scripture. It tells you a lot about the supernatural and about our Master and our God, our King of Kings and Lord of Lords, Yahweh. So without much further ado, I think we'll just do a brief prayer so that God will definitely be with us, and then we will begin studying the Parsha. Avinu Shabbat, our Father who is in the heavens, we come before you tonight to study. We ask you to do the teaching, Lord, because you are the master teacher. And if any section of Scripture needs help, this does for us to understand it. So we ask you to be here and to impart supernatural knowledge by your Holy Spirit. Join us, Lord, and help us to open our spiritual eyes and our understanding so that we can learn more than ever before about your kingdom. So as we pray these things, I am praying in faith, believing that you're going to do just that. And we thank you for it. Everybody say, Lord, I'm hungry.
Lord, I'm hungry.
I ask you to feed me. And I'm thirsty, Lord. Give me living water from heaven. So I'll have plenty to give up to others. In the name of Messiah Yeshua. Amen. Okay, so I don't see anything telling what parsha it is this week or what the references are, but it is Genesis chapter 18, beginning in verse 1. Oh, there it is. Vayera, Genesis 18, 1 through 22, 24. In verse 1 it begins, Vayera Elav, and that means he appeared unto him. Yahweh is the one who's doing the appearing, and unto him is Abraham. And It's actually, I'm not sure this is where he was called Abraham or if he's still called Avram. There's a big difference.
I believe he's already called Abraham.
Yep, it is Abraham now. If you notice in verse 7, and into the herd ran Abraham to fetch a calf. So we are definitely in the time period after he renamed Abraham to his new name. Okay, so, and he appeared unto him, and him is Abraham here in this case. Yahweh is the one who did the appearing. Be'elonei Mamre, in the plains of Mamre. And he sat, as he sat, I'm not sure how they got in. Let me look at this real quick.
Here it just says sat at, not in.
Yeah. So it should probably be translated sat at the door. There is an awful lot of metaphor going on in these verses. And when it says he sat, patach ha'ohel, this is saying is that Abraham was essentially taking his ease in the tent door and during the heat of the day. Now, have you ever seen depictions of the now my brain wants to skip things here, of the, what do they call those tents? The tents of the
Apartments?
huh?
Apartments?
No, the tents of the people who are still even dwelling in Israel today.
When
Bedouins. That's what my brain wasn't pulling up. So Bedouin tents have layers to them. And let me see if I can kind of draw figuratively a little bit on how that works. Okay, so here they've got a center pole that goes up high. There it is. So they've got this center pole here, and they've got these ropes coming off the top to other poles that are kind of aiming out a little bit, like so, and then pulling down, and another pole here. And they use a rope to tie it off on the top and put a big stake in the ground, like so. So, but there's not just one layer to this tent. Let me get another color here, and we'll make some extra little flavorings here. So you've got these inner layers to the tent, if you will. And so we've got another one that's going like this and like this, and a stake right there. Okay, so this is a multi-layered material. We got another layer that comes in here usually. Usually have 2 or 3 layers to it. So you got a blue and a red layer here to exemplify the layering of the cloth materials. And so the flap of the tent, there's probably hangings going almost all the way to the ground back around the tent. And there's usually a flap in here. Let me get another color. So here we got this material here is a different color. It's the wall of the tent. And they get very ornate with these inner layers of these materials. The most layers typically got a lot of embroidery or other things in it, so it looks very decorative. And then on the floor, they've got these carpets laid out. And they've got usually a lot of strings off of the ends of the top of the carpet. And so they will sit around inside the tent, but one of these tent doors will have a flap on it. So maybe it'll be like this, and the tent flap then may fold back on itself here. I just did this. Okay, let me see if I can do this again here. So this is going to be kind of like layered over here and folded back. So this will be an outside fold. And that would be, actually that was the wrong place to put that. We'll make it like this. We'll make it, my hand is drawing everything except for what it's supposed to be drawing. Now, let me fold this tent, this flap back. Okay, so this will be kind of folded back here, okay? Yeah. And this is the flap for the tent doors here. Kind of like that. Yeah. So it's kind of an elaborate tent. And the reason for these multiple layers of cloth on the tent is so that there will be layers of insulation to keep the heat out. Yeah. And it works pretty well. Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Is that to keep the heat out?
Mm-hmm.
Keep it cool?
Make sure it stays cooler in the tent. Because they have to sit in here and try to get out of the heat just like Abraham was doing. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, we're looking through the back wall of this tent looking towards the patak. Like this area right in here would be the patak. Haha. I'm just really winning tonight here. So let me make this one like this. And in here, this area right here. And right here then is the opening or the patak. Okay. And that's where Abraham would have been seated, right there at the front door. Now, I want to clear this off and draw one more angle on this thing. We've got a tent cover over the outside of it that's kind of probably like a beigeish looking material. And it's probably something like this. There'll be a material on this side. There'll be a ridge along here where the two bolt poles hold that centerpiece up. And then there'll be a bulge across here and across here. And so this whole thing here is enclosed. So it's like a box. And so it's got more like a box-like nature to it with sides and walls. And they can drop some of these sides if it gets to where they need some cross circulation of air. And so there's things they can do to adjust it to make it be a little cooler. And if you imagine that this in this area right here, that is the patak. That's the opening to the tent. And this tent then would look more like looking straight down on it would be more like this. And here's the patak right across there. And that would be the way in and out of the tent. Are you following me? Mm-hmm. Now, going to an esoteric level of the meaning of Scripture, then we see that the patak is a door through which you can pass from inside the tent to outside the tent and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And inside the tent represents the familiar, the things that you're comfortable with. He's there during the heat of the day, so he's receiving some comfort from the tent. And outside, the heat's getting high. Inside, it's a little cooler. Mm-hmm. So he's feeling a little relief there. And these three anashim came and stood a ways off. Go back to the scripture here. And
recovering from being circumcised?
No, really, I don't think he was circumcised until later.
No, he was circumcised right paragraph above.
Oh, he was. Okay. I missed that. Thank you. So would it have anything to do with that? It could have something to do with it.
Relaxing because, just...
Yeah. Of course, if it was on the third day, they say that's the sorest time of the circumcision. So anyway, so he's sitting there trying to get some relief from the heat. And he's doing it. The tent is offering some relief. But these three anashim, let me go down to the next verse. He lifted up his eyes and looked. We'll see Vayar right here. Mm-hmm. That is the same word as Vayar.
Oh, yeah.
Vayar. You say tomato, I say tomato. Anyway. So it is an apparition of being able to see. So here, Vayar, and here, Vayera. Vayera is actually how you pronounce this one. And he looked. So first they appeared and then he looked. And he lifted his eyes. Remember what I told you about when you lift your eyes in the Torah? You're looking upwards into the spiritual plane. And he's actually seeing into the rakia, the membrane that separates the waters above from the waters beneath. So he lifted his eyes and he looked. Vayar, he looked, and hine, behold, Shilosha, that means three, anashim. In other words, just men. Nothing special about them, apparently. Nitzavim, they stood alav, on him. This all means on. I have mime on al ha-shulchan. This is the shulchan, this is the mime. And so this means that they are so close that they might as well be on top of them. He's that close to them. And he saw them, and he yaratz, vayaratz, and he ran unto them to meet them. And the word here is kara, meaning to draw near unto them. And from the patach, or the door, or the opening of the tent, and he bowed himself down toward the ground, vayishtachu. And we have that in a prayer that we do on Shabbat. Vayishtachave el hekra. I don't know if you remember it or not, but that's the word that literally means to bow down and worship to the ground. Prostrate yourself. Now, Jews have never prostrated themselves to anybody except Yahweh. And so here we see that these three men are very special men. And we're going to go back up now and see that in verse 1 it says, Yahweh appeared to him. Yahweh appeared to him in the plains of the Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. Why is he sitting in the tent door? Well, maybe he wants to get out, or maybe he wants to go somewhere. It doesn't say why he was sitting in the tent door, but it was in the heat of the day, so he's probably just getting some relief. But he lifted up his eyes and he looked, and three anashim, and these are translated as ordinary men, anashim. Ish is the root for it, and it means just ish is just a word for men or husbands. Okay, three anashim, nitzavim, standing, aloft, by him, very close to him, and he saw them. He ran to meet them. Why would he have to run to meet them if they are that close? Yeah. You know, so he saw them in the vision of the rakia. And so he's getting up and he knows where they're at because he can see them, right, in the vision. And so he runs to meet them, and the kara here is the word to meet them, but it means to get close to them. Kara means to draw close. And so he's drawing close to meet them from the tent opening, and he bowed himself toward the ground and worshipped. Vayomer, and he said, Adonai, if now I have found hin, favor, hesed. Hin is favor and chesed is mercy. If I have found matzati, favor ba'einaka, in your sight, not please, ta'avar, don't pass over or pass up by from your servant, from on your servant. Verse 4. So verse 4 says, let I pray, to be fetched, please, a little water, mayim, v'rachatzu, and wash your feet, raglechem, your feet, v'hish anu, and rest yourselves, tachat, under ha'etz, under the tree. So he's asking them to hang around a little while. Verse 5, Ve'ekha, I will fetch a pot, a morsel is translation for that, a morsel of bread, lechem, Ve'sa'adu, and comfort your hearts, livechem, your hearts, achar, afterwards, ta'avuru, you shall pass on, because therefore, or in other words, that's another way of saying, why have you come? Why have you come to visit me, your servant? And they said, Ken, so do it, it's fine. Ta'aseh, do, ki asher dibarta, as you have spoken. Now, Vaymaher means literally Moses hurried. He rushed to the tent. Abraham, excuse me. My brain isn't wired all the way to the front upper lobes yet, so give me a little time here. We'll get there. We'll get there. So Abraham rushed into the tent to Sarah. I'm going to go ahead and change this over to a English version so we can make a little quicker tracks here. Oh. So Abraham hurried into the tent, and I'll make this just a bit larger. Is that easier to read?
Yeah.
Okay. So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarai and said, "Quickly, 3 measures of the best flour, knead it and make cakes." Abraham ran to the herd and took a tender calf and gave it to the servant. Most of the rabbis say that this must have been Ishmael. Ishmael. So he ran to the herd and took a good tender calf. They said that Ishmael would have been about the right age to be trained in the ritual slaughter procedures. And so I believe they may be right. So that jives with my understanding. So he took curds and milk, the calf which he had prepared, and set it before the men, and he stood by them under the tree as they ate. And they said, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" And he said, what happened? I think I went down a whole page or something here.
You were at 9.
I was in 9? Boy, I jumped a bunch of lines there. They said unto him, "Where is Sarah your wife?" And he said, "There in the tent." And he said, "I will certainly return to you around this time next year, and Sarah your wife will have a son." Sarah heard him from the entrance of the tent behind him. Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years. Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself, thinking, "I am old, and so is my Lord. Am I to have pleasure again?" So Yahweh said to Abram, "Why does Sarah laugh and ask, am I really going to bear a child when I am so old? Is anything too hard for Yahweh? At the time set for it, at this season next year, I will return to you, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah denied it, saying, "I didn't either laugh," because she was afraid. He said, "Not so, you did laugh." And the men set out from there and looked over towards Sodom. Now she laughed inwardly. She didn't laugh out loud. And so she couldn't believe that he could have possibly heard her. And probably the natural ears wouldn't have picked it up. So the men set out from there and looked over towards Sodom, and Abraham went out with them to see them on their way. Adonai, Yahweh said, "Should I hide from Abraham the thing that I'm about to do? Inasmuch as Abraham is sure to become a great and strong nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed by him. For I have made myself known to him, so that he will give orders to his children and to his household after him to keep the way of Yahweh and to do what is right and just, so that Adonai may bring about for Abraham what he has promised." Adonai said, let me go up one more and make sure. Okay, that's right. Adonai said, "The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great, that their sin is so serious, that I will go down and see whether their deeds warrant the outcry that has reached me, and if not, I will know." Now, who was Lot? Lot.
Abraham's nephew?
Correct. And who was, what was his ministry? What's Lot's ministry?
Well, they put him in charge pretty much of the city. They put him in the court, and he was at the gate when the 3 angels show up.
Right.
So he was like, a judge?
Yes. And how does a judge become a judge?
He has to be appointed.
Appointed. And if you are a stranger in the land, how would a stranger in the land be appointed as a judge over the people of the land?
Well, it's probably the only just one there. He was the only, seemed to be the only.
How about by reputation?
Yep. He was the only one you could trust.
Okay, so the people of that city were not trustworthy.
Mm-mm.
They were always suing each other and attacking each other and doing wrong, illicit sexual deeds with each other. That's what they were known for. And here's Lot living just outside the city, and he walks in and he sits in the judge's seat, and people bring him their troubles, and he has to rule on these troubles. But then when the angel of the Lord came and we got him, if you read in the next chapter, which we're going to get to that, you'll find it's really interesting that the angels came and they were there at the city of Sodom, and it says Lot looked up and saw them, and he recognized them by looking up into the rakia. And so he told them, you must get off the street, you can't stay here. So anyway, we'll try to get down there and read that part before it gets too late. So he says, Yahweh says, the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great, their sins are so serious that I will go down now and see whether their deeds warrant the outcry that has reached me, and if not, I will know. But most people believe that God knows everything already. So why would he have to go down and check it out? Well, because he's not going to take action against a city, essentially a whole nation, unless he knows that the reports that have been coming to him are truly justified. So he says, I will go down now and see whether their deeds warrant the outcry that has reached me. Excuse me. And if not, I will know. Then the men turned away from there and went towards Sodom, but Abraham remained standing before who? Yahweh. Right here. Before Yahweh. That's the way they keep from saying Yahweh in the Bible. Say Lord or Adonai. Adonai is the same as the English word Lord. Abraham approached and said, will you actually sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Maybe there are 50 righteous people in the city. Will you actually sweep away the people and not forgive it for the sake of 50 righteous who are there? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill righteous along with the wicked, so that the righteous and the wicked are treated alike. Far be it from you. Shouldn't the judge of all the earth do what is just? Yahweh said, if I find in Sodom 50 who are righteous, then I will forgive the whole place for their sake. Abraham said, here now, who am I but dust and ashes, and have taken it upon myself to speak to Adonai? What if there are 5 less than 50 righteous? He says, I won't destroy it if I find 45 there. He spoke to him again. What if 40 are found there? And he said, for the sake of 40, I won't do it. He said, I hope Adonai won't be angry with me if I speak. What if there are 30 are found there? And he said, I won't do it if I find 30. He said, please hear, I have taken it upon myself to speak to Yahweh. What if 20 are found there? And he said, for the sake of the 20, I won't destroy it. And he said, I hope Yahweh won't be angry with me if I speak just once more. What if 10 are found there? And he said, for the sake of the 10, I won't destroy it. Yahweh went on his way, and as soon as he had finished speaking to Abraham, Abraham returned to his place. This is why Jews require a minyan for prayer. That's really not justifiable here, but a righteous minyan is what's required to be sure that you can save an area. If you can find just 10 righteous, God may not destroy the place. That's all I can say about that part for now. Let's go into chapter 19. A lot more good stuff here. The two angels that were with Lot and Abraham, with Abraham and Yahweh earlier, they came to Sodom in the evening, and when Lot was sitting at the edge of the gate of Sodom, Lot saw them, got up to greet them, and prostrated himself on the ground. He said, "Hear now, my lords." So he's speaking of them very reverently. He knows that these are spiritual magistrates. "Please come over to your servant's house. Spend the night, wash your feet, get up early, and go your way." "No," they answered, "we will stay in the square." So they said, "We're not going to do that." But he kept pressing them, so they went home with him, and he made them a meal, baking matzah for their supper, which they ate. But before they could go to bed, the men of the city surrounded the house, young and old, everyone from every neighborhood of Sodom. And they called to Lot and said to him, "Where are the men that came to stay with you tonight? Bring them out to us. We want to have sex with them." Oh, gosh. Lot went out to them and stood in the doorway, closing the door behind him. And he said, "Please, my brothers, don't do such a wicked thing. Look here, I have 2 daughters who are virgins. Please let me bring them out to you, and you can do with them what seems good to you, but don't do anything to these men, since they are guests in my house." "Stand back," they said. "This guy came to live here, and now he's decided to play judge." Oy, Gewalt. "For that, we'll deal worse with you than with them." And they crowded in on Lot in order to get close enough to break the door down. But these men inside reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them and shut the door. The patach is a tent door opening, but here they are actually in a house because it has a real door on the house. Okay. So the word door here should be dalet. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at that and see if it's dalet or the tent. Because before it said tent, right? Mm-hmm. Remember we were reading it said, "Oh hell." Okay. So they said, "Stand back." Oh, it was Abraham that was in the tent.
Abraham was at the tent door.
Right. But here it's something else. Let's see what it is. Yeah, dalet. See right here? Can y'all see that? Dalet.
Oh, yeah, dalet.
So a dalet is a doorway with a frame. Okay? So we can see that there's something really special going on here. So the men inside reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house. So that's these 2 angels. They just grabbed him and brought him in and shut the door. Then they struck the men at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they couldn't find the doorway. The men said to Lot, "Do you have any people here besides yourself? Whomever you have in the city, son-in-laws, your sons, your daughters, bring them out of this place, because we're going to destroy it. Yahweh has become aware of the great outcry against them, and Yahweh has sent us to destroy it." Lot went out and spoke with the sons-in-laws that had married his daughters and said, "Get up and leave this place, because Yahweh is going to destroy the city." But his sons-in-law didn't take him seriously. When the morning came, the angels told Lot, "Hurry, get up," they said, "and take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here. Otherwise, you will be swept away in the punishment of the city." But he dallied, so the men took hold of his hand, his wife's hand, and the hands of his 2 daughters. So that's his wife, his daughters, 2 daughters, and Lot So that's 4. And so anyway, we see that the sons-in-laws didn't qualify. Otherwise, that would be 2 more. So reason why Abraham didn't press it further, because he's already got 7, should be easy to get 10. So anyway, not so bad. So Yahweh was being merciful to him and led them, leaving them outside the city. When they had brought them out, he said, "Flee for your lives. Don't look behind you. Don't stop anywhere in the plain, but escape to the hills. Otherwise you will be swept away." And Lot said to them, "Please no, my lords. Here your servant has already found favor in your sight. And if you have shown me even greater mercy by saving my life, but I can't escape to the hills because I'm afraid of the disaster will overtake me and I will die. Look, here's a town nearby to flee to, and it's a small one. Please let me escape there. Isn't it just a small one? And that way I will stay alive." He replied, "All right, I agree to what you have asked. I won't overthrow the city of which you have spoken. Hurry and escape to that place because I can't do anything until you arrive there." For this reason, the city was named Zoar, for small. Zoar. By the time Lot had come to Zoar, the sun had risen over the land, and then Yahweh caused sulfur and fire to rain down upon Sodom and Gomorrah from Yahweh out of the sky. He overthrew those cities, the entire plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and everything growing in the ground. But his wife looked back behind him, and she became a column of salt. Abraham got up early in the morning and went to the place where he had stood before Yahweh. And he looked out towards Sodom and Gomorrah, scanning the entire plain, and there before him the smoke was rising from the land like smoke from a furnace. But when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham and sent Lot out away from the destruction when he overthrew the cities that Lot lived in. Lot went up to Zoar and lived in the hills with his 2 daughters because he was afraid to stay in Zoar. He and his 2 daughters lived in a cave, and the firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old. There isn't a man on earth to come in to us in the manner customary in the world. Come, let's have our father drink wine and we'll sleep with him, and that way we'll enable our father to have descendants." So they plied their father with wine, and the older one went in and slept with her father, and he didn't know when she laid down or when she got up. And the following day, the older said to the younger, "Here, I slept last night with my father. Let's make him drink wine again tonight, and you go in and sleep with him, and that way we'll enable our father to have descendants." And they plied their father with wine that night, so also, and the younger one got up and slept with him, and he didn't know when she lay down or when she got up. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. The older one gave birth to a son and called him Moab. He is the ancestor of the Moabites to this day. The younger also gave birth to a son, and she called him Ben-Ami. He is the ancestor of the people of Ammon to this day.
Where's Ammon?
It's down in that same Jordan Valley area.
Okay.
Yeah. Avram traveled from there towards the Negev and lived between Kadesh Shur while living as an alien in Gerar. Abraham was saying of Sarah his wife, "She is my sister." So Avimelech, the king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But God came to Avimelech in a dream one night and said to him, "You're about to die, because the woman you have taken, since she is someone's wife." Now Avimelech had not come near her, so he said, "Lord, will you kill even an upright nation? Didn't he himself say to me, 'She is my sister'? And even if she herself had said, 'He is my brother.' In doing this, my heart has been pure, and my hands are innocent. God said to him in the dream, yes, I know that in doing this your heart has been pure. I too have kept you from sinning against me. This was why I didn't let you touch her. Therefore return to the man's wife to him now. He is a prophet, and he will pray for you so that you will live. But if you don't return her, know that you will certainly die, and you and all who belong to you. Avimelech got up early in the morning and called all of his servants and told them these things. The men became very afraid. And then Avimelech called Abraham and said unto him, Abraham said to him, what have you done to us? How have I sinned against you to cause you to bring on me and my kingdom a great sin? You have done these things to me that are just not done. Avimelech went on asking Abraham, whatever could have caused you to do such a thing? Abraham replied, it was because I thought there could not possibly be any fear of God in this place, so they will kill me in order to get my wife. But she actually is my sister and the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. And so she has become my wife. And so Sarah then is Abraham's half-sister. When God had me leave my father's house, I told her, do me this favor. Wherever we go, say about me, he is my brother. Abraham took sheep and cattle and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham, and he returned to him Sarah his wife. And then Avimelech said, look, my country lies before you. Live wherever you like. And so to Sarah he said, here, I've given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. That will allay the suspicions of everyone who is with you. Before everyone you are cleared. Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Avimelech and his wife and slave girls so that they could have children. For Adonai had made every woman in Avimelech's household infertile on account of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Can anybody say, wow?
Yeah.
Adonai remembered Sarai as he had said, and Adonai did for Sarah what he had promised. So how much later was this than the last encounter?
Years?
A year. It said up there it was 1 year. I will return in the year, and you will have a child. So Yahweh did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, and at the very time God had said to him. Abraham called his son, born to him, who Sarah had born to him, Isaac, and that literally means laughter. Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, and when he was 8 days old, as God had ordered him to do. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Sarah said, God has given me a good reason to laugh. Now everybody who hears about it will laugh with me. And she said, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah could nurse a child, would nurse children? Nevertheless, I have borne him a son in his old age. The child grew and was weaned, and Abraham gave a great banquet in the day that Isaac was weaned. But Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian. How old do you think this child was when he was weaned?
2? 2.5. Because some of them are different. Some of them go past 2 years old.
Well, traditionally in modern America, he's 2 years old when he's weaned, or thereabouts. But this is her only child.
He might have gone past, too.
And it's not uncommon for women in that time period to nurse their child way beyond 2 years. Let's see, remember Samson's mother? She insisted on nursing him and keeping him until he was weaned, right? Mm-hmm. That's what she told her husband and Eli the priest. So if she was going to give him up to serve in the temple, I can guarantee you she didn't let him be weaned until he was at least about 10 or 12.
Oh.
Because that would be the last she sees of her son on a regular basis. And so she wanted to make sure that she got to be with him until he grew up and was age accountable. So I'm sure that's when.
I can't imagine that, but
Yeah. I know, it's hard to imagine.
yeah.
This is a different world that we live in. So anyway, Sarah said to Abraham, throw this slave girl out and her son, and I will not have this slave girl's son as your heir along with my son Isaac. And Abraham became very distressed over this matter of his son. But God said to Abraham, don't be distressed because of the boy and your slave girl. Listen to everything Sarah says to you, because it is your descendants through Yitzhak who will be counted. But I will also make a nation from the son of the slave girl, since he is descended from you. Abraham got up early in the morning, took bread and a skin of water, and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder and the child, and then sent her away. After leaving, she wandered in the desert around Beersheba, and that's the well of the oaths, remember that? Where he had made an oath with the king that lived there, and they would agree not to mess up his wells anymore. So when the water in the skin was gone, she left the child under a bush and went and sat down, looking the other way about a bowshot distance from him, because she said, I cannot bear to watch my child die. So she sat there, looking the other way, crying out and weeping. And God heard the boy's voice, and the angel of God called Hagar from the heavens and said to her, what is wrong with you, Hagar? Don't be afraid, because God has heard the voice of the boy and in his present situation. Get up, lift up the boy, and hold him tightly in your hand, because I'm going to make him a great nation. And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So she went, filled the skin with the water, and gave the boy water to drink. And God was with the boy, and he grew, and he lived in the desert and became an archer. He lived in Paran, the Paran desert, and his mother chose a wife for him from the land of Egypt. After that, Avimelech and Pichol, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham, and they said, God is with you in everything you do. Therefore swear to me here by God that you will never deal falsely with me or with my son or grandson, but according to the kindness with which I have treated you, you will treat me and the land in which you have lived as a foreigner. Abraham said, I swear it. Wow. Making some progress.
Mm-hmm.
We've been at this for close to an hour now. Abraham had complained to Abimelech about a well which Abimelech's servants had seized. Abimelech answered, I don't know who has done this. You didn't tell me, and I heard about it only today. Abraham took sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. Abraham put the 7 female lambs from the flock by themselves. Abimelech asked Abraham, what is the meaning of these 7 female lambs you have put by themselves? He answered, you are to accept these 7 female lambs from me as a witness that I dug this well. This is why that place is called Beersheba, the well of seven, or well of an oath, because they both swore an oath there. When they made the covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech departed with Pichol, the commander of his army, and returned to the land of the Philistine. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there he called upon the name of Yahweh, the everlasting God. Abraham lived for a long time as a foreigner in the land of the Philistine. Chapter 22, and I don't know how far this goes. Oh, go to 24, okay. After these things, God tested Abraham and said unto him, Abraham, he said, here am I. He said, take your son Isaac, your only son. Well, see, this is something that can be a little confusing if you can't hold the context. Because in the context, just a little bit ago, we read that Isaac, or Ishmael was thrown out with his mother.
Right.
So Isaac is the only child he has left. And so he is his only son. Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah. And there you are to offer him as a burnt offering on the mountain that I will point out to you. Abraham got up early in the morning and saddled his donkey and took 2 of his young men with him, together with Isaac his son. And he cut wood for the burnt offering and departed and went towards the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham raised his eyes and saw the place in the desert. He raised his eyes. He's looking in the rakia. Abraham said to his young men, stay here with the donkey. I and the boy will go there and worship and return to you. So he's saying Isaac is going to return with him. Even though God has said, make him a burnt offering. Anyway, I think that's interesting. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son, and then he took in his hand the fire and the knife that they both went on together. Isaac spoke to Abraham his father. My father, he answered, Hineni, here I am, my son. And he said, I see the fire, the wood, but where's the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham replied, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering, my son. And they both went on together. He prophesied. He's a prophet, you know. But I thought we were supposed to be not for profit. Anyway. So Abraham built there an altar and set the wood in order, or bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar on the wood. Then Abraham put out his hand and took the knife to kill his son. But the angel of Adonai called to him out of heaven, Abraham, Abraham, he answered, Hineni. He said, don't lay your hand on the boy, don't do anything to him, for now I know that you are a man who fears God, because you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. Abraham raised his eyes and looked, and there behind him was a ram caught in the bushes by its horns. Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up as a burnt offering in place of his son. That's a picture and shadow and type of the Messiah, who would become substitutionary sacrifice for all of us who believe. Verse 14, Abraham called the place Adonai Yireh, and Adonai will see to it. Adonai provides, in other words. As it is said to this day, on the mountain Adonai is seen. The angel of Yahweh called Abraham a second time out of heaven. He said, I have sworn by myself, says Yahweh, that because you have done this, because you haven't withheld your son, on your only son, I will most certainly bless you, and I will most certainly increase your descendants to as many as there are stars in the sky or grains of sand on the seashore. Your descendants will possess the cities of their enemies, and by your descendants will all nations of the earth be blessed, because you obey my order. So Abraham returned to his young men, and they got up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham settled in Beersheba. Afterwards, Abraham was told, Milcah too has borne a child to your brother Nahor. Uz is his firstborn, but Buz is his brother. Kemuel, the father of Aram, Kesed, Hazo, Pildash, Idlaf, and Betuel. Betuel fathered Rivkah. These 8 Milcah bore to Nahor, Abraham's brother. The concubine, whose name was Reumah, bore children also. Tevek, Gacham, Takash, and Ma'acha. So that is the end of this week's Torah Parsha in the Torah. The Haftarah is 2 Kings, chapter 4, verses 1 through 37. And Brit Chadashah suggested readings for Parsha Vayera is Luke 17, 26 through 37. Romans 9, 6 through 9, Galatians 4, 21 through 31, Messianic Jews, which is the Hebrews, chapter 6, verse 13 through 20, 11, 13 through 19, and then Yaakov, 2, 14 through 24, 2nd Kefa, chapter 2, verses 4 through 10. So you can always look those things up. You can see these references on our website. You can go to the Torah reading calendar, and it will give you the Brit Hadashah as well as the Haftarah. So you can read all of these scriptures and see how they relate to one another. So it's been a very good and exciting evening. And I've kind of had a little bit of a hard day today, so I think I'm going to call this good for tonight. I appreciate you coming and joining with me in study. And we've got a couple of things that I'd like to talk to you about after the broadcast ends. So we will call this good for this week. Please feel free, everyone watching online, to join us on Shabbat. You can either join us live right here in Manor, or you can come to our services online and see all of the morning class and the music and the teaching, and sing along with us with the lyrics on the screen. We'd love to have you join us any way you can, whether it be on the internet or live here at Austin. So anyway, I would like to say Shalom Aleichem to all of you. That is, peace upon you. And I pray that you will have the peace of God in your lives in every area as you study and endeavor to be obedient to his commandments and receive the promise of his blessings. So we praise the Lord for your coming and for this opportunity to share with you the Torah. God bless you. Please come back next Tuesday night for another adventure in the Torah, and then join us on Shabbat for more teachings. God bless you and Shalom.
Shalom, everyone, and thank you again for joining us. If you'd like to contribute to the studies and to the teachings here at Zion, please visit our website at tzion.org and click on Contribute Here. And reminder that we're going to meet again Shabbat morning. That's just within a few days, beginning with our 10 a.m. Bibles Issues class, followed by our 11 a.m. main service with worship, liturgy, and another teaching. In the meantime, be safe and shalom, shalom.